What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Price Action Nation weekly Forex forecast and trade setups video for April 21st, 2019. It's been a few weeks since I've done one of these videos and I'm excited to be back. I first off want to give a big thanks for all the support and especially for many of you who have personally reached out to say thanks. As many of the subscribers to the channel already know, these setups are leading to some spectacular moves which have translated into hundreds upon hundreds of pips of profits for my followers. For some, even thousands of pips, and yet others even thousands of dollars. So if you're new, be sure to take note and follow along. There's a lot of great opportunities building up in the charts, so without any further ado, let's get into it. Welcome to Price Action Nation, where we help you go from indicator overload and analysis paralysis to finally trading with clarity and confidence. Here we focus on helping traders become independently profitable by focusing on pure price action. So if you're new, please support the channel and consider subscribing. We're going to start this week's video off with the Aussie yen. This is our big picture view 4-hour chart. As you can see, we've got this really nice structure. Price has been working in really since the very beginning of 2019, back and forth, this wave-like motion up and down, and over the course of the last couple weeks of April, price has been moving in this really nice channel to the upside. Now my overall outlook here on this pair is bearish, and what I was waiting for and anticipating was price coming up into this marked off level of supply that I had here. This really nice where we had these lows of support back in the end of 2018. You could see the little hesitation before the bottom just totally gave way back at the end of the year, and we're now approaching those levels, or just did approach that level at the very end of last week, kissed it, and as you can see, we've got a lot of this coming together of resistance, a lot of confluence here. Again, this smaller channel being created in light of this bigger structure, along with, of course, this area of supply here. Price came up, kissed that level, and so far had a really nice reaction to the downside. Price hasn't completely broke out of this channel as of yet, so we could get one more push up. Could get one more up move, either to this level here, or we could come up and break these highs before price really decides to come back down with a lot of force. Again, like I said, overall bearish on this pair. I am currently in short on this. I got in up at the high here, stops move to break even. It's a risk-free trade, and of course I'm going to be looking to let this trade run down to here before I consider taking any profits off the table. Moving on to the Aussie dollar, starting off on a daily chart. I do want to remind everybody I am a long-term bull on the Aussie dollar. However, my expectation in the more short to medium term is downside. I am bearish for the time being, just based on the way the structure of price, how it's forming up to this point. Price has been moving very, very slowly up to these highs, not aggressively in any way, just slowly, gradually coming up. We had these former highs here that just got tagged. I would like to see this high over here get taken out before the move down. That may or may not happen. Price aggressively has already started to fall from those highs. But if it's going to turn soon, and we could see an additional one more push up, break these highs. If that does happen, I'd be gearing up for this move all the way back down to these lows here. And I'm telling you, as far as I'm concerned, if price does end up coming back down here to this really juicy discounted price, I'm going to be looking to add to my longs for those really long-term holds to the upside. This is also a pair that I'm currently holding a short position from these highs, and we'll be looking to hold down here to these lows down around the 70 handle. Euro Aussie outlook is bullish. I'm expecting upside here. We're at some really nice discounted levels on the Euro Aussie. We could see one more push down, one more down move, and if we do get down back to the sub 5700 handle, it'd be a good area in my opinion to be looking or considering getting in longs, and lots of upside potential here. Euro yen 4-hour chart. Outlook is bearish, downside is expected on this one. This is actually a pair back on April 12th I had posted to our members channel here. You can see price coming up north of this up to these high 126 handle. You can see this 126.76 area that I had marked off and expecting downside from that area. Of course, that's exactly what we've seen so far, and it is looking like price is wanting to continue that trajectory down to the downside further on down. I did get in up at these areas here, and as you can see, assuming price does get down to these lows, you guys, that offers some very handsome returns. You're looking at a 1 to 7 plus risk versus reward. So say you risked 1% on this trade, could potentially lead to a 7% return. If you risk 2% on this trade, that's a 14% return on one trade on your account. And of course, as savvy investors and traders, that's exactly what we want to be doing. We want to be looking for opportunities where we can risk a little in exchange for a lot. That's what smart money does. That's what smart, savvy-minded investors do. Pound Aussie 4-hour chart. This is zoomed out to really give you some context to see the nature of how price has been working over the past several months. In fact, going back to November and December of 2018 and leading up to today. Outlook on this pair is bullish. This is really forming some beautiful price action. A few days ago on a live webinar for our members, I jumped in on this pair around the 81.45 level. Currently holding this. It is at a risk-free situation right now, so I'll be looking to hold. Heaps of upside here, hundreds and hundreds of pips. Realistically, this could even come up and tag this 90 handle, which if it does, going to be in the amount of about 800 pips in profit. Who knows exactly what it'll do? I'm just saying that's the potential that this has, is coming back up into these highs here. Now, having said that, before many of you just go ahead and rush to your MetaTrader and decide to just buy, okay? Please never do that because of these videos. Now is not a time to buy, okay? Let's zoom in here. You guys need to be really picky on where your entries are, okay? So price has now been pushing higher, and you're up into these areas here, into these former highs. You guys, is a former high a good area of value to buy? If you guys are going to buy anything in life, do you want to buy it at a premium or a discount? Okay. Now, yes, it's true the upside is really juicy still, but that doesn't mean you're just going to you just jump in, okay? Nobody knows that it's going to do that. I'm saying it has the potential to do that, but you still want to take a methodical, risk-averse approach and look for areas of value. Don't abandon your principles for the fear of missing out. Pound franc 4-hour chart. Outlook is bearish. Downside is the expectation here. I am gonna wait for the price to push higher before I even ever consider getting in short. This is one that could push higher and higher, yet still we could see price very realistically continue to push up into these levels here. However, I would like to see it at the very least push well above the 3200 handle before getting in short. Now that will be an aggressive, more risky style, aggressive style entry. The very best thing to do to be a little bit more conservative would be for price to break down with a good amount of force, breaking this trend line, okay, that you can see here. Wait for it to break this trend line. Let's suppose it comes up higher, pushes up higher, and then we get a nice breakdown, something like this, something with a good amount of force, and then wait for a correction, and then for the additional downside. That would be the best thing to do. For me and myself, I'm not even going to really consider getting in this until and unless it breaks north of the 3200 handle, and this definitely still has plenty of strength behind it to push higher. Pound yen 4-hour chart. Now pound yen is shaping up to be kind of a fun looking pair as far as the price action goes. My favored outlook on this is the downside. It's my favored play on this. However, the only way I'm even going to consider getting in short certainly is not at these levels. I'd like to see price push higher, and if and when it does and gets up into this level here, the 147.5 handle, that's going to set itself up and lend itself up for some really nice downside and taking out all of these lows down here. So I would keep an eye on that and look out for this nice short trade. Pound dollar 4-hour chart. Now this pair has been coming down exactly as expected. A little over a week ago, I did manage to get in short in this area to ride this little baby wave down. Nice little swing trade for the time being. Been coming down just as expected, and my overall outlook, or at least my favorite outlook on this, is upside. It is a bullish outlook on this pair, something similar to the way that you see here, this really nice impulsive wave to the upside is what I'd really like to see happen here. So once price does continue to push down lower, keep an eye on the behavior of the price and how the price action is behaving down in this area to consider, or at least before you consider going in long. Moving on to the Kiwi dollar, this is a daily chart. Price has been pushing down very nicely from these highs, just as expected, coming down. I do anticipate it continuing to fall further, and if and when we see price get down to this area, you can see this area of interest that I have here. That's where I'll be getting my 3-point stance, gearing up and looking for long opportunities for something like this, back up to the upside here, up to these former highs up here. So for the time being, if you wanted to, one way to trade this would be this certainly wouldn't be my favored approach on this, just because the downside is limited, and although I am looking for price to head down to those lows before I get in long, that doesn't mean price can't take off immediately from any of these areas. Price could turn and bolt higher from where it is. However, this does have a really nice bearish structure to it so far. Lower lows, lower highs, and you could look for short trades all the way down to those areas in the meantime. Alright, dollar CAD daily chart. This gives you a really big macro view of the structure price has been forming for many months, and for the time being my outlook is bullish on the dollar CAD overall. We could continue to see price consolidate in this range that it's in. However, I do expect it to eventually break out and head higher. Longer term, and we're talking big, even bigger picture view than this, I will be looking, especially if we get price coming up to the top of this area here, I'll be looking for a really big short trade. I was looking for that big monster trade from these highs and did write it down all the way down to here for hundreds of pips. Was expecting it to break out, or at least hoping for it to do that. We didn't get that. However, I do think that inevitable big move, something comparable to this, will eventually happen. It just may take one more drive higher before we see that happen. Okay, so that's the daily. Let's go down to a 4-hour. All right, now this is the 4-hour outlook as far as what I see, and bear in mind, you guys, this week we do have some pretty big announcements coming out of the BOC. Wednesday we've got a rate decision and a policy report, so that could be the catalyst here to generate some movement. What I would like to see, however, is price to push higher ever so slightly, come up here to the top of this area. I would consider a short-term short from there, as you can see, and then of course coming down to this area of interest, we've got this nice price structure here forming. From that area, I will be gearing up and looking for shorts on this, or excuse me, I'll be looking for longs on the smaller time frames for that next bullish wave to the upside. So overall, bigger picture, bullish. however, possibility that I'll consider taking a short trade, a short-term short trade down to these levels. Dollar franc daily chart. Talk about a pair that's caused some grief for a few traders out there. I actually have already got stopped out once on a short trade on this pair last week. It did come up with some serious vengeance. The franc bears really stepping in with a lot of force, pushing price higher. I am seeing this structure on the daily, and we're approaching a level where we could see some profit taking and some bears, some dollar franc bears coming in to push price lower, which I'll be gearing up for. If we zoom out even further, you can see we've even got this bigger macro view of these major highs. Even here, let me fix that so it's not so skewed. But going back, you guys, to the Swiss National Bank fiasco, where price was at these major highs before the massive black swan event of 2015 that took place there, for those of you that remember that. So we're at some really historical highs. At least we're approaching those levels here. So I'd be quite, that doesn't mean price can't go higher. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is I'm not too keen on the longs, where we could really see at any moment the profit taking and bears stepping in from these levels. So that doesn't change my overall bearish outlook on this pair, and I will be looking for more opportunities to short. Now, as some of you found out last week, there is some serious risks to being aggressive on your entries. So at this point, if you're a little bit gun shy, one thing I know I'll be waiting for, one thing that you may want to consider, is go down to smaller time frames and wait for sellers to step in first, and then look for any corrections to get in on for additional downside there. That way you're not trying to catch a falling knife. Okay, now the last thing I want to make a note of here is if we just take a minute to study this bit of price action. Let me zoom in a little bit here. So one thing I want to point out as far as the nature of this move right here is you'll see how price started out at somewhat of this 45-degree angle, and then it went just purely parabolic from there. All right, let's zoom out just a little bit because I want to show you something interesting. Can you see this, a similar thing happening here? Price starting out a little bit 45 degrees and then going parabolic. Okay, we got the exact same thing happening here. Just this is what you would call the fractal nature of the market. We've got the exact same nature of the price movement, just to a smaller scale. Okay, so I do see that the real possibility that once we get up into these levels, we can see an aggressive move back to the downside, just like we saw here. Okay, a lot of the retracement of this area all the way back down to these levels. So we could very well see, and I won't be surprised if we see a retracement back down to these levels, retracing all of this move. So trade with care. Always remember your money management rules. The thing that's going to get you hurt is over leveraging yourself. Before moving on from the dollar franc, the last thing I want to do is actually run over to the Swiss franc futures pair. Okay, now this is the Swiss franc currency pair on the futures market. Okay, and what I want to point out here, just to give some context and some additional evidence as we analyze these charts, this is a daily chart, and you can see price, the Swiss franc, coming down to these historic lows. Okay, now what's happened nearly each and every time price has approached this 99 handle? We see aggressive buying coming in, right? Aggressively. You can see the last time that this came falling through the sky like a rock through the sky, price coming up aggressively. We saw the big fall here, buyers coming in aggressively. We saw more selling coming in here, and of course buyers coming in aggressively. So does that mean that it has to turn out that way this time? Absolutely not, it doesn't. Price could just crash right through. But what it does do is it provides some evidence that we're at a level that the smart money, that commercial speculators and institutional money historically has perceived these areas as an area of value to get in, okay? And even going back 2016, 2015 and beyond, we can see that this area has been serving as quite a solid area of support. And moving on to the dollar yen, this is a daily chart. I always like starting on these bigger time frames to show you guys the bigger picture view for some context here, okay? And as you can see, from these highs all the way back to 2015, price has respected this trend line, and especially through these areas here, we can see repetitive respect again and again and again and again of that level. And of course, we're getting back up to this level here, which will look like a test of the 112.50-ish area here. You can see I've got some areas marked off, areas that I see the market's going to find some trouble. It's already found trouble here at these areas. We saw two tests there. There's a very real possibility, with all the momentum still remaining in the dollar, that we're going to see price go higher. However, the overall outlook I have is bearish. That's definitely the trade of choice, and the outlook of choice is going to be the downside. And moving on to oil, this is West Texas Instrument crude oil weekly chart, you guys. Big picture view to give you some really big monster macro context here. Price, since we came off the implosion of oil at the end of 2015, all through 2016, price moved very correctively to the upside into 2017, 2018, and then of course at the end of the year we had another very strong landslide on oil to the downside, which broke through this trend line. Okay, big breakthrough. Ever since, we've been moving back up, and we're currently retesting a confluence of major resistance. What's the rule of support and resistance, you guys? Support, when broken, turns to resistance. What's another rule? We'll oftentimes have a break, a retest, and then a continuation of the former move. So that's my outlook here, is now that we're coming back into this area of major what was support now turned resistance, I'd be having my head on a swivel and be very sensitive and looking out for any shorts. Okay, now oil is something that, just like it had this ability to crash and got a lot of people in some precarious situations because of poor money management and because, oh, it can't keep going down type of thinking, you guys, price can very well continue to go up. Okay, oil, supply and demand, geopolitical tensions, all it takes is a little spark in the Middle East of something to happen, and we could see an emotional move up in oil. Okay, so always cover your bases. Always assume your trade could be wrong and what you're going to do about it. However, that being said, just trading what we can see in the charts based on what price is showing us, the better opportunity here and the more wise trade is to the downside. So I'd be keeping that out, keeping it on the radar. I know I am. Let's go down to a daily chart now and show you what this looks like on a daily. Okay, as you can see on the weekly, we're coming back up into these major areas of what was support and of supply here. And so what we can do now is really, you can see this nice trend line here. Price has been forming. Yeah, we just broke up, made new highs. I'd be looking for the move down and then considering shorts. And last but not least, we've got silver. This is a daily chart. Silver is a fun asset to trade. Back at the end of 2018, I was calling for silver longs from these lows, from this 14 handle, and just turned out to be a beautiful trade up to these highs, up to this first target. And ever since, we've seen price come back correctively back down. Now we're getting to a really juicy level just south of the $15 handle, as you can see in this area that I've got blocked off here. Once we see price get down to this area, I'll really be looking for more long-term long positions. Now, silver is one of those things you can guarantee very few things in trading, but one thing I can say with certainty: silver's not going to zero. Okay, so a really good long-term opportunity, in my opinion, to consider here. Price has been consolidating. We got this price formation here. and I would like to see it push lower, which I think it will, and if and when it does, I will be looking to get in long. That's going to do it for today, guys. I hope this was helpful. It's great to be back with you all. Today's Easter. I hope you've had a great Easter. I hope this video helps. If you found any value in these videos, please smash that like button. And be sure to join the Telegram channel. It's completely free. There I'm giving updates, free trade ideas. Love to have you be part of the community. Hope to see you on the other side, and I hope you'll join me in the next video. Until next time, best of luck in your trade.